Aloha and welcome to another exciting episode of the Haider Rifaat Show Season 8 specials. Today it's an honor for me to be joined by President Suzanne Vares-Lum, who is the first female and first Native Hawaiian President of the EastWest Center. President Vares-Lum also served as a Major General, serving the Army for 34 years, and she also addressed critical national security challenges in the region with this role. Now, for those of you who do not know, EastWest Center is a nonprofit institution that is based in Honolulu, Hawaii, that seeks to foster dialogue and educational exchange between and among students from the United States, Asia, and the broader Pacific region. To accomplish this feat, the EastWest Center accommodates students every year from around the world to immerse them in an intercultural dialogue. Thank you so much for taking out time for this interview. President Suzanne, I want to ask you, can you give our viewers a little bit more background information about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on your show, and
Yes.
I really am pleased that we're able to share a little bit more about the EastWest Center, which also, by the way, we have a Washington, D.C. office, so very exciting.
Right.
So I'm very honored to serve as the first female president since its inception in 1960 when Eisenhower signed the authorization. When I look at the hall of pictures, to see a female in that place, it's been very exciting. So, I am originally from here, born and raised in Wahiawa, Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
My mother is from Japan. My father is from Maui. I very much represent ethnically the wonderful, I call it beef stew of this region that has many cultures and backgrounds. I come from a family of three sisters. I'm married. I have two children, and I've served in different capacities. My last 5.5 years prior to coming here was at Indo-Pacific Command, working for key leaders like Admiral Davidson and Admiral Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Indo-Pacific Command is the largest and oldest combatant command that spans from the California coast to the west coast of India. So it was an honor and privilege to serve there. And then after I retired, after 34 years, I started my own LLC to consult on Indo-Pacific. And then actually President Lasner, the president of the University of Hawaii, put my name in the hat for this position, knowing that I had worked a lot across the region and that I'm from the Pacific and I understand the Pacific, and it is my ancestral homeland. So it's wonderful to be able to be here and to serve, to invest in leaders and conversation and research.
Mm-hmm. So kind of like to build on that, how does it feel to be seen as a woman and as a first Hawaiian president of the EastWest Center in a leadership capacity? How does it feel?
Well, I've spent 34 years in leadership, so it has been wonderful and often been the first in many. Mm-hmm. So even at Indo-Pacific Command, in those roles that I played as the mobilization
mm-hmm.
assistant to the commander,
Right.
or in the plans and policy, I was the first female, or in the 29th Infantry Brigade for the Hawaii National Guard, first female senior intelligence officer for that role. So it's surprising here we are in 2023 to be the first when this was created in 1960. So in a
Right.
way, it makes me realize that we still have much to do. We have, in terms of gender equity, to have these dialogues, but I'm also happy. I know being the first, I do not want to be the last. There must be many who come after me. And I also understand that it's very difficult for young women or those who are marginalized in marginalized groups.
Right.
It's difficult sometimes to become what you do not see.
Yeah.
So being able to be in that position, I realize it's important. I'm also grateful for those male allies who understand the roles and the positions they are in and are willing to reach and pull people up who have the capacity. And not just because we're women,
Yeah.
not just because you're first Native Hawaiian, or I'm Japanese American, I'm Native Hawaiian, Japanese American, Portuguese. I'm many things, but it's because of the capacity I bring, and that people can look beyond that and see that you have the right qualifications. And it's
Exactly.
not because of that,
Of your
that
gender.
you should not be
Yeah.
able to have that, because you wonder, is it that it's only now that it's because of that very reason why you did not see it early on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just put that out there.
Yeah.
As something to think about.
Definitely. So can you draw more emphasis on, because I did describe the EastWest Center in my introduction, but can you draw more emphasis on the mission of the EastWest Center now that you're in leadership?
I think Eisenhower, Senator Lyndon Johnson, Governor John Burns, from the first governor here in Hawaii, and Senator Inouye, Spark Matsunaka, who continued to usher the mission of the EastWest Center, understood when it was conceived that we had come out of World War II and into a Cold War. That crisis and conflict, in order to prevent that, we need to invest early on. We need to do those things that are important. So the mission of the EastWest Center is to promote relationships and understanding among the people and nations of the United States, Asia, and the Pacific. So it's very focused on those relationship building through cooperative study, which are the programs in our dorms here, and the short-term programs, and then through research and dialogue. And the dialogue convening conference center designed by IMPE, as well as the Hale Manoa, also designed by IMPE. That is the mission, and it remains very important today as it did in 1960.
Right. And because you spoke about the different programs that you have here, and like student housing and the conference center. So how does the EastWest Center, because we have students from all around the world, including myself, I'm from Pakistan, as you know. So how does the EastWest Center foster that intercultural understanding among these students? Because you know that you're living in a very diverse work environment, very diverse student environment, and sometimes it becomes tricky because not everybody is able to adjust in a culturally diverse environment. So how does EastWest Center make sure that it happens, it transpires, there is intercultural harmony, there is intercultural understanding?
That's a great point, because you have all of Asia, the United States, Pacific all together living in that IMPE design dorm, intentionally designed, and this is not an excuse for the small rooms, but it's designed small so that you're encouraged to go into the community spaces, to have those kitchens and cook together. There's no cafeteria, so that you are sort of put in a situation where you have to figure out how you cook together.
Yeah.
And the 40 activities a year, the governance structure that's in those dorms, the exchanges that Dean Ann Hartman helps to coordinate with the student leadership to figure out how you create community. Going in, when I get to speak to the students who are coming here, the graduate students, and that's another piece, is the focus, while we do have some undergraduate, the focus is on master's and PhD students, because for the long-term programs, because really at that point, countries are already investing in those leaders. We have 70,000 alumni, and many of them are close. The reason why I know this exchange works is they always, no matter where I go around the world, they say that EastWest Center was a formative experience, that they have friends from around the world. Whether it was the 1960s class, I've met 1974 class, they said they have a blog, or they contact each other every day. I've seen alumni groups get together and they will come, no matter their health or their age, some people with walkers and canes coming. Why? Because it was the most rich experience they had to meet people from around the world. Now, those are the long-term programs that you're in, but we also have the short-term programs that are, whether they're journalism programs, like the 60 India-Pakistan journalists who went to Nepal. And if you can go on our website and see their interviews, and they have said it was rich. They would never have had the opportunity to build this friendship across the border in a way that is lifelong. They will be friends forever. And that's what I hear. It is that secret sauce of the EastWest Center. Whether it's the young Southeast Asian leaders, the Asia Pacific leaders, the Pacific Island leaders, all of the journalism exchange, our young professionals program in Washington, D.C., as well as our congressional staff member program in Washington, D.C., the fellowship exchange in our research department. So there's a lot of different programs that really create an atmosphere of understanding our common humanity. I think that's the special part of the EastWest Center.
Yeah, that is key. President Vares-Lum, I also want to ask you, like, because there are so many challenges that students are also experiencing at the EastWest Center. So what are those key challenges, according to you, being in that leadership position and interacting with the different members of the EastWest Center from the education program? What challenges are the students experiencing here, and what is the EastWest Center doing to address those challenges?
Yeah, there are many challenges, right, that stem from what they have to deal with at home or the home life. I mean, the home country that they come from. I think we have common challenges, right? The threat of climate change, the economic downturn and its impact from COVID-19, rise of authoritarian regimes, or the fact that we come from a region where you only really have 6 full democracies, some that are fledgling and some that are completely authoritarian, which there is that struggle. You come into a space with people from around the world. Maybe you have different customs and traditions that you are facing with others that they don't understand, but it's working through that and living in a shared space, where norms and behaviors that are okay in one culture may not be in another, and some will find it offensive, so you might have conflict. But I think rather than us inserting the solving of that interpersonal relationship, is creating a structure that students can figure out to do that. And that's how important I believe the student body is. I mean, the student governance structure, to help people, bring people together. If we can urge people to, how do we solve conflict? Maybe we need to have a convening. Maybe we need to urge people, to figure that piece out. I got to also say that, with the rise of the costs of living, and Hawaii is very expensive, so is Washington, D.C. And given the conflict and crisis, I would say the Ukraine, the cost of oil, cost of shipping food, now has risen, created an already difficult situation for students in terms of access to food and just daily requirements that cost much more. What we have done is established a emergency student relief fund because we understand what's happening. And our alumni has responded in an amazing way that we, in 10 days, were able to raise over $21 million. I mean, not 21,000. I wish it was 21 million. $21,000. And, it's a lot of community members are coming in wanting to help. We have also assistance on that transition. We're trying to encourage people to do the host family program and participate in that program. So that will help you understand our host culture here in Hawaii, and connect with people, expand their network, because sometimes you can feel isolated and lonely when you come here. So encouraging opportunities to participate in a lot of our arts programs, our internship programs, or the community programs that are out there, so that they can build more networks and relationships.
I'm also curious to know about this. Why do you think Hawaii is an important place to foster these kind of dialogues among students?
I think early on, and it still remains today, is that Hawaii, given its geographic location and its strategic significance in the middle of the Pacific and its connectivity, back in 1960, you actually had to stop here to get to the rest of the continental United States. So that was just a fact. Now you don't have to. But it still remains that the Native Hawaiian culture, the Kanaka Maoli, who have sustained the land on which we sit here for generations, is the same culture that invited in many from different shores. And it became a new local Hawaii culture of very multiracial, living in harmony. In 1964, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., actually presented at the amphitheater here at University of Hawaii, and he talked about that Hawaii is a model of how people can coexist together. Not that there aren't issues, not that there aren't racial tensions, but a model in making steps to live in harmony with one another and to learn from one another.
Moving forward, as the president of the EastWest Center, what is your strategic goal looking into the future that sets you apart from past leadership?
Well, we have a strategic plan. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. We haven't had one since 2005.
Wow.
So when I came in, that was the Board of Governors. One of the first things was to establish that strategic plan from the ground up, getting input from everyone, alumni, as well as our board on what's important. And that strategic plan looked at the challenges that you're saying that the next generation of leaders are going to face. Number one, a rise in authoritarian regime, challenges to good governance in people's countries. The second is, of course, environmental challenges. We see climate change. And then, of course, the third is we see in this vast Pacific Ocean, which, by the way, you can fit all of the landmass of the Earth in the Pacific Ocean. That's how big it is. But it is a space that there's a spotlight, not just because of geopolitical strategic competition, but because of we're going to see the impacts of climate change first on many of these atolls that are low-lying. That we need to invest in the next generation of leaders who can solve those challenges of common concern. So really, collectively, our strategy focuses on 5 pillars. Number one, we develop and equip leaders, a network of leaders who are change makers. 2, we convene impactful dialogues like the Pacific Islands Leadership Program, or the APEC Senior Officials Leader Meeting, or the International Media Conference, or the Alumni Conference that we saw last year, or the Climate Conference. So there are many, not just here, but in Washington, D.C., why Asia matters for America and why America matters for Asia. And the third area in our strategy is we partner with the Pacific as we do the rest of the Indo-Pacific. Historically, sometimes the Pacific, because those voices have not traditionally always been heard, rather than the powerhouses in Asia. So, we have been connected to the Pacific since 1960, and more so since 1980, when Ratu Serkami Mara, the first Fijian prime minister after its independence, also EastWest Center alum, and Governor Ariyoshi established the Pacific Islands Development Program. Because we sit in the Pacific, our understanding of Pacific Islands and our connections, our ability to have that coconut wireless that understands, can be a voice, can be a help. That is what we are doing. The Pacific Islands Development Program is the only U.S. institution that's part of the Council of Regional Organizations of the Pacific, called the CROP, under the Pacific Island Forum, which is significant. Also in 1980 was established the Pacific Island Conference of Leaders, which brings together all of the Pacific Island leaders as well as U.S. territories and the state of Hawaii as part of the Pacific. And the other 2 pillars are fostering environmental solutions, which are much needed now, and I address that.
Definitely.
And the last area is supporting good governance through our journalism programs as well as women's empowerment and leadership programs, to name a few.
Mm-hmm. President Vares-Lum, you're doing a great, fantastic job. Thank you so much for honoring my show with your presence. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That is all for now, listeners, viewers. Stay tuned for more on my official YouTube channel and Facebook page. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.